G'day everyone. Monday, the 25th of November, and Club Grubbery time's rolled around again. Another week, John. How are you, buddy?
Couldn't be better, mate. Got the AFA t-shirt on today.
Yeah, that's my favourite T-shirt. That one. It's in the wash at the moment, so yeah. If I'd known, I'd have done it quickly and got it out. But AFA still fighting really hard for the fires in Victoria. Peter Marshall, what a
Mm.
joke! What a joke! Peter Marshall, the head of the Union for Fire and Rescue Victoria, a thug who runs the whole state virtually around fire and rescue.
Yeah.
Um, Fire and Rescue Victoria danced to his tune, it seems, Johnny.
Well, how could you have watched Professor Angus Dalgleish on Rowan Dean's program on Sunday, which has been shared on the Facebook page, and listened to Angus on Ben Fordham and Peter Marshall fair income? Wow, you're obviously a brain surgeon.
Well, you're either a dinosaur or you're corrupted, Peter. You're more than welcome to come onto our program and tell us why or what you are and why you are delaying the reinstatement, full reinstatement of those 25 odd firefighters in Victoria, many of whom have integrity that would leave you in the shade, my friend. But anyway, let's not get too carried away, Johnny. The misinformation and disinformation bill, the MAD bill, boy, it got a lot of support in the end, but there's this sheep in wolf's clothing in there somewhere, we think.
Yeah, I think so, Hoodie. I think people have got to keep their eye on this under 16 social media bill because from what I'm hearing, they're trying to slip through the digital identity requirements through on that bill. So that should be a real alarm. And it sounds like the coalition are going to support that bill. So I rang Peter Dutton's office today to express my concern, and I think everyone should pick up the telephone to whoever they can and just bombard their offices.
That's right. So we can't rest on our laurels. It looks like it's all gone away, but it hasn't. Uh,
Um,
that's which is probably why they're happy to just pull the bill and come at it from another angle, which is what they're prone to do anyway. It just shows you the kind of or the lack of integrity that we're dealing with right across the country. And I guess to highlight that, because we are supposedly the lucky country, but there's a lot of people in this country that couldn't really put their hand up to that description of Australia anymore. We've had Daniel Cinzio come on from Beyond Borders, John, in the Logan area, who's been driving around a truck, feeding the homeless, sleeping in their cars in and around the Logan Shire now for a number of years since all this happened. And that area seems to be a magnet for people in distress. And joining us today, we have Lisa and Jason Loakes, who are from Sheltered by Grace, who have a shelter running in the same area. Guys, it's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Hoodie.
The lucky country, are we, Jason?
Yeah, if we get rid of the uni party, yeah, I think you've got a fighting chance being a
Exactly
reluctant
right.
country again. Yeah,
Exactly right. So,
yeah.
Lisa, give us a description of what you guys have been doing and how long you've been doing it for and where the needs are.
Yeah. So Shelter by Grace started in about 2009. So we've been operating for about 15 years now in the Logan area. We originally wanted to set up affordable housing projects. We'd been speaking with governments and local councils, Logan City Council at the time, and wanting to do affordable housing because God actually put it on our heart many years ago to house the world. And for years we ran going, oh, no, no, la, 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 can't hear what you're saying. That's way too big for us. No, sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
So as he's want to do, God caught up with us. And so we've been running our site at Logan since 2009. So we actually do emergency and affordable accommodation for single men and women over the age of 25. So a lot of our clients actually do have children, but they don't have custody of said children. So aside from just accommodation, we actually run programs as well as social working, case management, etc. for all of our people. So rather than just a band-aid approach to homelessness, we actually focus on transforming and changing lives, reuniting people with families. We run a rehab program on site, a 6-month dedicated rehab program, and then another 6-month peer support program. We run a life skills 101 program, a working through trauma, overcoming DV. So we actually do an awful lot for people within the confines of their pension, but the only extra funding that we get is through donations and from some grants that we also get as well. So we actually have the very first, and we think the only, accommodation for men as victims of domestic violence, because not sure that you know, but there actually is no funding whatsoever for men as victims. And the statistics vary, but it's around 1 in 3 victims is a male, and yet apparently it doesn't exist, and men shouldn't be subjected to being victims of DV. So we do house both men and women as victims of DV, but we do have some dedicated space and beds for men as victims of DV as well. So,
wow. So tell us, paint us a picture of the facility that you've got up and running at the moment. What does it look like?
Well, it used to look like Steptoe Son, but we've been very blessed the last couple of years. We did get some one-off sizable donations, so we could really make some good improvements to it. So we've got one 12-bedroom building that I built out of shipping containers, you know, when I was doing that 20 years ago for a business. And it's all cladded inside and out, and it's purpose-built so that people can't damage it, and it's very hardy. We've got another 12-bedroom home that we managed to build with a $98,000 grant from the Gambling Community Fund. There's no way in the world you could build it for that price now. That's about 3 years old. That's the dedicated one for men escaping DV. And I donated my old display unit, and I had another developer donate another tiny home that we've had to renovate completely. All the termites were holding hands on that one. So it looks great now. And we've just finished, we got a Lend-Lease grant. And so we have 3 little tiny homes now that we're doing respite for people with the NDIS that are homeless, living on the streets, and they have a full package. So we're helping our charity actually make some money through the respite, but we're also helping these clients get off the streets. It's crazy that we've got $250,000, $300,000 packages, and
they're still living on the streets.
Still living on the streets.
Access it.
The whole system's upside down.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's probably a very long topic.
Yeah. There's a lot of, as you would know, there's a lot of issues and complexities with homelessness, and it's one of those wicked policy problems that touches on so many different aspects of politics and economics and social issues, and it's unfortunately the politicians in our government doesn't really have the appetite to solve it. I mean, it is solvable. There's more than enough money in the Australian system, but it's definitely not utilised properly.
It doesn't seem to suit the agenda either to actually house homeless men. We come under a lot of attack, and all our court cases in the early days were all from government agencies, and the only thing that really stuck out was that the only thing we were doing different to any other charity with homeless, we're housing homeless men. There's still nothing.
But we don't just house homeless men.
No, we don't. You know, we look after men and women, but
we're equal opportunity.
Yeah. Look,
Johnny, I reckon you'd be chomping at the bit to say something now. I mean, we've just been talking about government waste, and fire away, mate.
Yeah, this really annoys me. I mean, Hoodie and I were only just talking before we went on air about the wastefulness that's going on, and I know in New South Wales, I mean, the Rural Fire Service are wanting to build hangars for helicopters, you know, to put in there for a month a year. I mean, it is absolutely madness that they'll put $3.8 million into building a hangar for a helicopter when people are homeless. I mean, it just seems to me that we've got it all wrong. These grants are so ridiculous. There's a real problem with grants in this country. Everything is just structured around ticking boxes and making some bureaucrat happy.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's all going to the wrong places. I mean, clearly, I mean, they've identified this in the US as well. I know Elon Musk has been coming up with ideas for tiny homes.
I love it.
And it looks really encouraging what they're doing on so many levels there. And hopefully that filters down. I mean, because it's so easy to fix, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of money being spent on affordable housing now. Obviously, our government has actually put money into it because of the election. But, you know, there's millions and millions of dollars. We could actually solve the homeless problem in Australia with what they're being given just for, you know, so many 30, 40 beds.
Mm.
Our model is very much based on community living, and tiny homes is obviously part of that because that's kind of what we do. That's what we used to do. We used to build houses and mining camps out of shipping containers, which look actually quite bespoke and lovely. But, you know, our whole concept of everybody needs their own huge space is potentially something that needs to be challenged as well.
There's huge amounts of money being wasted in this industry. There's the old Queensland government had spent over $5 billion on homelessness initiatives, and they created 0 homeless beds for that money. $5 billion.
It was all people helping the homeless or being funded to try and help them find beds, which is, you know, as we know, is
So
silly.
we don't get any government funding at all, and the state government was going out and spending $8-9 million over the asking price for hotels and to put homeless people in the CBD.
They've just bought a hotel in the Brisbane CBD and they paid over, and we actually have someone in an association we're part of who's got the right to information details, and they actually paid $8 to $9 million over asking price.
What is that?
So
Look, see, this is what they do. They come up with these garbage programs. They'll, you know, say we're going to put 50 people through TAFE and put them through a welding course at $5,000 each. And yeah, look, that might be great, but I mean, it's not much good if you don't have a house to live in, does it?
That's right.
It's hard to get them to a job if they don't have a roof over their head.
And I mean, here's part of my contention is everyone says everyone needs a home. Yes, they need somewhere to stay, but a house is not necessarily the first solution for homelessness. A lot of our chronic homeless are homeless for a reason. They can't sustain a tenancy. There's chronic mental health. There might be addictions. There's other underlying trauma that needs to be dealt with before they're actually able to sustain a house or, you know, housing. And so what we do is that dedicated, hands-on, 24-hour support to assist people deal with their underlying issues before they're actually ready then to reconnect with family, get a job, be re-skilled.
Just getting someone's mental health stabilized is a huge issue. I've helped one. Some support constantly for people that have chronic mental health issues. We closed down all our mental health hospitals in Queensland in the late 90s. There's a massive gap missing. You have the normal hospitals that'll house them for 2 to 4 weeks, bomb them out.
Maybe if you can get someone in bed at the moment, you can't even get people
well, if you can get them into the hospital, that's another whole issue. But anyway, if we can get them in, then you really do. The next step was to put them in a long-term mental health hospital. That would take 2 or 4 years to get them well. That's missing. That's just gone. They just go straight back to the street again and an impact on everybody else.
Or inappropriately housed. And, you know, that's what we had a lot of trouble setting up because the locals didn't understand what we were trying to do or why, and that people are much better in a supported accommodation environment than being free range out in the public, assuming they're taking their medication, but they're probably not, and being unassisted and unsupported. So, you know, as you know, the system is broken.
I just want to be in charge of Australia for one day. Just give me one day. It would be.
Woody, you'd be pretty familiar with all this with your recovery program. I mean, it doesn't sound dissimilar to what you're doing, but you know, on a shorter term basis, it's not easy, is it, looking after these?
No, look, you know, yeah, as John said, my wife and I have been running a Christ-centered 12-step program that we made up 18 years ago. And we do a lot of recovery work, 12-step recovery work. It's a tough space to be in. You know, people need more than just a roof over their head. They need a support structure. They need to feel secure, and they need to feel safe, and they need to feel that they're around people who understand them, who can listen to them, because most of their issues stem from never being heard and never being connected. So, how big is staff have you got? Or are you going to laugh at me?
No, actually, up until
the
manufactured crisis that we've all experienced for the last few years, there was just me on a very tiny salary. In the first 7 years, there was nothing. There was nothing. I was just 100% volunteer working there 7 days a week. But yeah, we have 6 staff now. That no one's paid full time, and everyone probably is doing plenty of overtime.
Yeah.
And we've got volunteers and
volunteer students and volunteers and
Yeah.
Here
Where
we
you
go
want to see
again.
more.
Here we go again, Johnny, where the people are doing the work the government is paid to do. You know, you made a comment with when we launched informme.com, talking about giving people, advice on vaccinating their children and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking to Katrina again on that subject shortly. And you made a comment that resonated right from that interview, which is, why do these people need to do what the government should be doing? The government's failing at every turn.
Yeah.
And today I hear on the news that the housing bill that the federal government was going to bring through looks like it's not going to go through now because the Greens are having a squabble with them, and they're arguing over semantics. And where are we? In the middle of a bunch of bureaucracies and no man's land, and still people cannot afford rent. Rents have gone through the roof. You've got rent auctions are happening all over the place.
Yes.
Nobody can afford rent. Nobody can afford to buy housing to rent out to people, and nobody can afford to get into their own home. It's an absolute joke. And here we are. I live in a rural area in northern New South Wales. And if I want to put 3 or 4 tiny homes on here now, I run the gauntlet of council saying, no, you've got to move on.
Yeah.
You can't have them there for more than, you can't have one more than 3 months on any one title.
There is I know in Queensland government, and we've been able to find this, there is a state legislation that overrides council, which allows you to actually, and we've been able to use this on our site, which works with domestic violence people. So you can actually not have to go through the whole DA process.
Just order and away you go. And that's how we built
how we've built our
the last
couple
few
of
homes and the tiny homes as well. But
can you hear me, John?
other people have reached out to us for help over the years, and we're all trying to help each other that are struggling.
Can you hear me?
Cost benefit analysis. The last one I heard was in WA. It was $1.1 million per homeless person to house them in emergency housing. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's just such a waste.
Well, it's interesting, Hoodie, you mentioned about the tiny homes on rural blocks. I mean, because realistically, there is, if you've got 10 acres, I mean, what does it matter if you've got half a dozen tiny homes on there, whether they be relatives or friends or people who are struggling for a period of time? I mean, it shouldn't really make any difference. But I mean, once again, I mean, the councils are a problem. But once again, in Australia, we've got this culture of dobbers. And the neighbours would be, on the phone, next to the council sort of forced out there. Like, it's just bad.
Yeah. NIMBYism. And we had a lot of that setting up sites. Yeah, it's been interesting. Death threats, stalkers with locals. It's been amazing.
Over the years, I've had a couple of situations where neighbours have wanted to create havoc, not only here, but other places where I live. And every time I've dealt with a council officer, they've come and looked at what we're doing, and then they've looked at me and said, look, if you didn't have such lousy neighbours, we wouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
If somebody lodges a complaint, we've got to be here. It's just
right. Yeah.
It's like where are we, Australia? Where are we when we can't house people who are desperate for housing? And where are we, like Logan City Council, running around turning off taps and shutting down shower and toilet facilities so that the homeless sleeping in their cars have got nowhere to go, moving them so they become somebody else's problem. What a grubby act is that? With all the land in Logan, they've got so much land in that area.
They've told us that they don't. We've approached them and they've told us that they don't have any that could possibly be used for this purpose.
No, because nobody wants a community like that in their backyard.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. One day it'll happen to you.
Every council has this same mantra. They go, "Oh, they're not our homeless. These people have been imported from other councils.
It's a state problem. It's not our problem."
And I keep laughing at them and going, trying not to laugh. I'm laughing in my head. I'm going, but do you realise, like, you all create that problem? You all get to put them in a bus with security or park rangers, and then move them to the other council. All you do is keep moving the chess pieces on the same chessboard. How about you actually just help them?
Yeah.
So look, it's a very frustrating system. We want to expand, and we've got the way to do it in Queensland. We're chasing people that share our vision and help us to do it. Because I want to build more communities. The best thing that we did by accident was having that shared facility, that shared 12-bedroom home, and having to force people to do chores and work together. And it built a community. We have lots of good people that when they're ready to move on, we help them find shared accommodation, and then 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 will move out together and take over that home. It's a great exit strategy.
And that's part of our vision, is to keep them connected. So if they do relapse or need assistance, then they know where to come back to for help. And, it creates that bigger environment and the bigger community where they always stay connected. Because as you would know, they've probably lost their family or the other connections.
Yeah.
So it's about connections. That's the only way we can help people out of homelessness, is by keeping the connections and keeping them in communication.
And as I say, a lot of these people would be veterans, and I've got to ask the question: where are these weak generals that are happy to task these ADF agencies to go out on field trips and exercises out in the middle of nowhere? I mean, if they wanted to do something productive, why don't they set up a soup kitchen ad hoc in some of these places where they could actually make a difference to these people's lives? And I mean, because they're in a war zone, these people. I mean, I don't know how else you describe it. I mean, it's pretty shocking what these people are going through every night, and why the Defence Force just can't mount some humanitarian operation just to assist.
Yeah, I've got to say, when we think about the Defence Force doing that, though, the one big thing is people in uniform trigger people in that situation. Just so much. We saw that in Corokai, Johnny, when we were there during the floods, when the military flew in helicopters and all of that. There were a lot of nervous people around that didn't know what they were there for, and they thought they were going to be moved on and all that. The big issue for me is that all we need is for governments of all persuasions just to back off and let the people do what the people want to do for other people. Just stop throwing roadblocks in the way. For God's sake, get out of the way.
Yes.
Just there, people like you who want to help others are being stymied at every turn by levels of bureaucracy. That's why, the whole libertarian movement, John, I really support that whole notion of, when we were talking to Crystal Mitchell the other night in Victoria, I was listening to ABC today. Here we have a parliament that's just about to wind up for the year, and they're distressed because they've only passed a few bits of legislation, and they're saying that the Senate's bored. The Senate's sitting there with nothing to pass. Well, why don't they put in action a reversal of some of these ridiculous bills that have been passed over the years? Why don't we start extracting them from our legal books and getting rid of the whole thing so we free this nation up so its people can be free?
It's not part of the plan. Yeah, I agree with you, 100%. Yeah, look, it's taken us, 12 years to find a way through this way that we can not have to. I don't have to deal with any bureaucracy to go build another shelter. I just need to find some people that can help us donate the land and find the cost to build a massive village. I want to build 150 tiny homes and on at least, like 20 to preferably like 100-acre lots, and just do one after the other. And you have all ages of the community working together. You'll have the elderly looking after the mums and dads that have to go to work. Everybody works together. You'll have your market gardens. You have everything sitting there. It'd be like utopia compared to what we do now with, sitting on small blocks and not knowing our neighbours.
Yeah.
What would you say, Jason, to those people watching this who'd say, you're just going to create another ghetto. It's going to be a drug hub. People, you hear this all the time. All you're doing is creating another ghetto. You're just moving the same movie to a different cinema. What do you say to them?
Why don't you come to the shelter first and do one day, just do a 24-hour shift, right? Just live what we live and see the people that we look after and help, right? They're all somebody's mother, father, son, or daughter, right? We shouldn't be turning our backs on human beings in this country. Dogs get looked after better and are better funded.
Yes.
Right? Homeless dogs are better funded and better looked after than our homeless men and women on the streets, and our homeless kids. It's just,
But it's also
yeah.
about support. Like, we've got to provide the support for people so that, yes, even though drugs and alcohol are there, we've got support to help them to actually overcome and, work through it.
Exactly.
So yeah, it would never happen like that. As long as you have on-site work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we've always got carers, we've always got social workers, we've always got people there that they can turn to. We're drug and alcohol-free site, Sheltered by Grace. Got another model that'll work really well, and having some people, they can at least have a roof over their head. It's going to be a very ugly roof until they want to choose to get well and to get off all the gear. And there's a lot of them addicted to prescription drugs too. But once you get rid of that drug addiction, then you get to the real problem, and it's usually family, the breakdown of family. It makes a world of difference when you can get people good sleep and get them off their gear.
Broken
It's not
connections.
rocket science.
I mean, at the end of the day, I still don't understand why this wouldn't be considered an humanitarian crisis that the military could assist with. I mean, you see them deploy overseas, and they set up tents for thousands of people in hours. I mean, with makeshift hospitals, with food tents, all this stuff. I think the military could play a real vital role here. And look. It may be confronting for them seeing military in uniform, but I think the majority of serving military personnel would be, they're compassionate, they're empathetic, they're beautiful people that would be willing to serve in that capacity. And I just can't understand why it continually gets overlooked. It's a massive resource on our doorstep that could be deployed tomorrow. And I mean, these people are not going to improve unless they're getting good nutrition, their healthcare is being looked at, and they've got somebody on the ground to talk to, and a shelter over their head. I mean, those difficulties you're talking about, I mean, they're very complex problems that are not going to be sorted out in a tent.
No, and they're not going to be
but-
sorted in a motel room, which is where they're being put at the moment, put up for 1 or 2 nights and then back to the street. It's a vicious cycle.
Look, for $300 or $400 a night they're spending, that's basically what we charge the client for a week, including food and utilities and all the care.
Yeah.
And the social workers,
Case
the whole lot.
management, social workers, programs.
The
Yeah.
whole
I don't know how true it is, but I hear stories all the time. I don't know the veracity of what I'm being told. But look, at the end of the day, I hear when people come from overseas, they've got nowhere to put these people, and when they're defining whether they're illegally here or not, they're put into 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
They've got hire cars picking them up. They're given vouchers. They're given meal things. They're given money.
Yeah.
I've noticed for the last 12 months, it's happening in every Western country, the exact same issues. We've got this manufactured housing crisis, as I call it. You can't bring in 100,000 immigrants in 1 month, and that month the whole building industry for Australia only manufactures 14,500 homes and units. Right? It's just maths. It's supply and demand. Rent and property are going to go through the roof. So, and that's the same thing in Canada, same thing in the US with their illegal immigrants. It's the same thing in the UK at the moment. They've had 2 million immigrants move in, and I think less than 2 years. It's no accident that this looks very much orchestrated plan if you're sitting back from any distance at all.
Of course it is. The whole aim is to create crises so that they can bring in the solution they want, which is one world government, one world everything.
Yeah.
And so, Jason, you said if you were you'd love to run this country for a day. Tell me what you'd do. What's the first thing you do?
Well, before I do anything, I would actually get every best awake leader that I know of in a room, and we'd be planning out all different strategies of what government departments to get rid of, just like they're doing over in the States. Definitely be following a lot of that model for sure. Definitely be making sure there's no laundering money overseas, to dodgy charities and stuff like that are huge. I'd be spending money on local grassroots charities here, big time, because they're the ones that are on the front line, and they're usually way more cost effective than any government or Quango agency that I've ever come across. I would definitely reform Queensland government. We desperately need an upper house. We don't have a Senate here in Queensland.
Yeah.
I'd put a lot of strategies in place where you cannot get a job leaving Parliament House, any level, 3 levels of government, and working for the people that you've been signing off on, giving them friendly money. You can't just work for the tobacco lobbyist company straight away, all that type of stuff. You got to get rid of the corruption. You got to actually have proper watchdogs that are actually independent. You've got to shine the light. If we could shine the light on the truth, none of us would be in this situation at the moment.
Elon Loakes.
Yeah, give it to me. I'll do it. Yeah, I'd have a go. I think my wife knows I would. Yeah,
Well, as we said at the beginning, this is the lucky country.
yeah,
Yeah.
You ask those people now, what you're doing is what you're doing is you're replacing a system that worked well for centuries. You're
Yeah.
bringing back the village.
Yeah.
You're bringing back the village, and that's been the one big thing that's needed. It's been said by many. It takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
it does.
Yeah.
It takes a village to connect. And the biggest problem we see of people coming to our recovery program, they all feel like they are too far gone to be helped. They're too far gone to be saved. There's no way that God would be interested in them. So why would other people be interested in them?
Yeah.
And we spend most of our time, as you guys would know,
Yeah,
telling them that we're all a work in progress. Each day we are a work in progress. And all we got to do every day is turn up for work.
That's right.
And I don't mean go and clock on at your job at the warehouse or whatever. Just turn up to enable your character to be developed through the trauma that you're living through. Because there's a million people out there waiting to see how you climb out of the hole that you're in, because they're in a hole too and they want to climb out.
Yeah.
And people like you do, what people like you do, and Daniel Cinzio and a great many others, they don't look down on anybody unless they're helping them up.
Yeah.
yeah,
And we've got to get Australia back to that notion again. We shouldn't be looking down on anybody unless we're helping them. Johnny's whole life is about service. He was a paramedic. He's been involved in local government as a shire council. He's been mayor, deputy mayor. He's in the RFS. He's in the SES. The whole thing is all about serving people, and that's what we've got to come back to. We've all become too selfish.
Yeah, that's right.
We're too interested in bagging our neighbour rather than we should be looking for the good in people and ignoring the garbage. But no, we're too busy fighting for garbage. We've got a lot of changes to go through in this country.
Let's say you keep us divided. You make sure that we're always arguing amongst ourselves, and so we're not arguing against who really is ruling us. Because, man, they just laugh. They just laugh at us. We need to be a one voice and one nation again. Really do.
Yeah, we do. We do. And, look, there's a lot going on. There's the pendulum starting to swing, John. I mean, it's been a pretty amazing week. We've started to see a lot of things shift, and a lot of the narrative's really starting to crumble. But, we've still got a long way to go, mate. We've still got a long way to go.
Yeah. We're a long way from winning this, unfortunately, and these people need to be held to account. There's no question about that. But, I wasn't in the RFS, Hoodie.
Weren't you?
No.
I thought you were. I thought you were in everything.
Yeah,
You weren't in the RFS? Why not? Wouldn't they have you?
I don't think they'd have me.
Won't have you now.
Remember, the RFS was pretty staunch. They wanted you to have 50,000 vaccines, remember?
Oh, yeah, but I thought you'd have been in there a long time ago. I thought you were in everything.
No, I wasn't in the RFS. Etsy.
Hey, do you remember when we were in Corokai and they were looking for our green tick before they'd let us do anything?
Yeah.
And we told them all to get Nick because the people who didn't have green ticks outnumbered the people who did, and they just had to put up with us being there. We told them all to get Nick.
Yeah.
They weren't even on the ground, were they? It was hardly
We even kicked the Salvation Army out because all they were doing was running interference. It was just unbelievable.
Well, thank God for the army. Actually, I mean, they were magnificent, weren't they, when they came in?
They were great. They were great. But, here was the thing again, bureaucracy. They were marching around keeping exercised in pristine uniforms with clean boots for 3 days. And when we went up to their commanding officer and said, why aren't you guys getting in there and getting dirty? They said, we're hanging out to, but we haven't had our orders issued from Canberra yet. It took them 3 days to get their orders. But when they got their orders, man, they were great, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, they were
Picking
full of mattresses out, full of mud. There was
it was
Target.
unbelievable. Anyway, so you've got one village at the moment, right?
One,
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
Right. Have you got another one on the drawing board, or is that a pipe dream?
It's not a pipe dream, but yeah, we do need the finances first, or someone to donate the land
We've been close before. We've had
several times.
We've been close in Harvey Bay and in Kingaroy, but they haven't quite come off. So
Yeah.
another potential one up around the Bundaberg area shortly. So there's a few around the edges, but nothing's kind of come through just yet.
Surely there must be government buildings that are, doing nothing out there. I find this hard to believe that there's not old nurses' quarters somewhere, or there's some quarantine camp that they built for us. But didn't let us in.
Yes.
I mean, there's got to be something.
People don't want to live in that though.
Have you tried penetrating the bureaucracy just to get a list? No one can give me a list.
We've been trying for years and years and
Just to
years.
start there.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm hoping that the new government in Queensland's going to be a little bit more helpful. One of the federal senators, Liberal guy, he was pretty switched on and actually keen to help us. So we've got to write up a proposal for him. But yeah, look, just one day at a time. But someone will have the perfect block of land, and some will have the funds. And I know that that'll happen. We had no funds and no nothing, but we managed to buy the land, build, do everything in 3 months.
Yeah. There's a whole story behind our startup that we won't bore you with today, but I am writing a book.
Oh, yeah, we got $800,000 fines. That's the short of it, to set up a temporary homeless shelter, and then we built a permanent one all in 3 months and avoided the fines, and then got in a whole heap of other crap. But anyway, because nobody wanted us near them. Yeah.
Why should you even have to go through that? I mean, look, you talk about quarantine camps and everything. The first thing they'd have to do is tear down the walls around those things. And
None of the home. Yeah.
The homeless
You're right.
don't want to live
They'll
there.
never live in that with three fences and razor wire. They'll never go in there for love of money.
Why would anyone
Why
want?
would you?
And what is the purpose of these things now? Down outside of Melbourne, Dan Andrews built a monument to himself. It's a massive. It's like a prison.
Yeah.
Tear down the walls.
How is, on the background of what Angus had to say yesterday about Moderna and Pfizer, I mean, how are these two factories that are earmarked, one in Melbourne, one in Brisbane, not being turned into housing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've never cared for us. And we just need to wake up as many Aussies as we can that they never have. And they don't have our best interest at heart.
I don't hold my breath that government's ever going to solve this problem. I think most of them are only in it to get re-elected. It's just to be seen to be doing something. I don't think any of them have the appetite to actually sit back and look at the problems.
The best thing they can do to help us is to get out of our way.
100%.
That would be a good start.
Yeah.
Get out of our way and let the people do it. Look at them all. They're all behind Johnny. They're all there. We're ready to do their thing. These were a lot of them are frontline workers, people from all walks of life, everyday mums and dads. And some other people, some other notable Australians are happy to call cookers. I mean, it beggars belief. It absolutely beggars belief. Do you know that you two are cookers?
Yeah, proud. Loud and proud.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I got a conspiracy theory shirt last year. You know what I mean?
We've been called worse. What
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I look at some of these groups that are doing all this anti-cooker stuff, and I've realised that they're cooked themselves. They're more cooked than anyone else is. They don't realise it.
Yeah.
That we've got to stop going down these stupid laneways and come together on a big freeway of people in Australia and actually do things to help our country get back on its feet, because we've elected representatives and we're paying bureaucrats who just aren't capable of doing it.
Yep. Well, I used to be a government employee. Don't hold that against me, in the Queensland government. And then I consulted to them. So I saw quite a bit through COVID as well. So I was doing recruitment. So that was very interesting. But I actually feel that a lot of bureaucrats in our Queensland government have actually been escalated to levels of their incompetence. And so they're either off on sick leave or they're just shuffling deck chairs. And a lot of them have absolutely no clue what they're doing.
Wow.
And that's on a good day, I think.
And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Or the good people have all left. They're in the private sector. They're working for themselves.
The ones that can critically think, left the sector 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was in Canberra 2 years ago for the peaceful protests, it's almost 3 years. Yeah. It was mind blowing how many doctors and nurses and fireys and everybody,
and guys like John,
everyone, and they were homeless for the first time, and they had no idea what to do or where to get help. And I spent a lot of my time trying to guide them on where they can actually get help, get free food, get free accommodation, and try to get a fighting chance to get back on their feet again. But with them still being gainfully employed, without pay, it was virtually impossible with the Centrelink system to get them any funds. It was a real nightmare. And I pray to God we never end up in that situation again.
I think we're perpetually in it.
Yeah.
The level varies, yeah.
The level varies. It's only the depth that varies. Johnny?
Well, I don't know what you can say, Woody. I mean, it's just madness, the whole thing. But once again, I think, thankfully, once again, COVID has sort of opened up our eyes to all this going on. Everyone else just thought homelessness was a few people that were being helped by CEOs on one night a year.
Don't start me on that one.
Anyway,
yeah. Now, Lisa, straighten up your shirt because there's a website on there, isn't there? Show us what your website
is. sbg.org.au.
Right, so that's Sheltered by Grace, sbg.org.au. There's a way you can help. And I'm sure, look, there are a lot of people who watch this program who are very well heeled. Money's not their issue. They want to help behind the scenes and do other things. So there's a few people I know who watch this. There's one for you, Sheltered by Grace, sbg.org.au. And keep us in the loop. Let us know when the next one's about to start. And so we'll bring this one to a halt now. But look, we've just got to do what we can to get Australia back on its feet again.
Absolutely.
We've got to come back to the village mentality where we all look after each other. If everybody on the planet looked after the man on his right, we wouldn't need law enforcement. We wouldn't need police. We wouldn't need government.
No.
Self-governance. Yep, absolutely.
Imagine the world without Canberra.
Amazing.
What a lovely world of freedom. If you ever get to travel, years ago, I got to travel to the Philippines, and that's what it was like, freedom. There was no signs to tell you what speed to do on the road. There was just nothing. It was such a mind blow for me, born and bred in Australia, to experience freedom. That would be really nice. I'd like that for Australia. I really would.
Maybe one day. Maybe.
Let's
bring it to a close with a prayer.
Yep.
Dear Lord, Father in heaven, please grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is and not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Johnny, you've often been heard to say,
you just couldn't make this stuff up.
You couldn't make this stuff up. As you say, look, there's so many resources in this country, John, that can be utilised. And, even the whole military thing can be done in a way that's not confronting to other people. You don't have to turn up in tanks and uniforms. You just put the gear out there. The resources are there. How much time expired gear gets thrown away anyway? I mean,
that's right.
It's just craziness. But anyway, God bless you both. And I'd love to pop up there. I'd love to pop up and have a look. We pass through that area quite a bit. So I'd like to stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to come and talk to some of the people up there. To be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
All right. Well, stay
Thanks,
under the
buddy.
trees, everyone. And don't forget, if you love somebody and you haven't told them, give them a call and let them know. You may just save their life. Sheltered by grace. What a great thing, because we've all been saved by grace. And by grace, we're saved to serve. So let's get on with it and get this
Yeah.
country back on its feet. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching.
You too.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye for
See
now.
ya.
See ya. Bye.